Dear viewers, today I have brought you a story that revolves around the suffering of the peacock. The story is full of events. I hope you like it. Enjoy watching everyone. In one of the forests, there lived a female peacock incubating her eggs. When the day of hatching came, the chicks began to emerge from the eggs. The mother was overjoyed, and her joy was almost complete when she noticed that one of them was different from the rest of his brothers and was the last to emerge. After a while, their bodies were covered with bright colors of feathers except for the last one, who did not have any feathers growing on his body. He was surprised at his condition and began to feel jealous whenever he looked at the rest of his brothers cleaning their feathers and fanning them out. One day, the bald peacock asked his mother, "Why don't I have feathers like the rest of my brothers?" The mother answered him, "I don't know. So be content with what God has written for you, my son." So he was patient with that situation and began to talk to himself, saying, "Perhaps a day will come when beautiful feathers will grow for me." Many weeks passed. One day, while he was sitting, his brothers came to tease him. The first one began to clean his long, soft, shiny feathers, while the second one opened his feathers in the shape of a fan. They all kept showing off their beauty. The bald peacock felt deeply sad and left the place, moved. While he was walking and crying, everyone who saw him was amazed by his appearance and started to mock and laugh. While he was walking in the forest, he met an eagle. The eagle asked him while he was about to burst out laughing, "Tell me, bald one, what kind of bird are you?" He answered him angrily, "Stop laughing. I am one of the most beautiful birds ever. I am the beautiful peacock." Then the eagle burst out laughing and almost fainted from the intensity of his astonishment. He said to him. Then the peacock left, becoming more and more angry, until he saw a parrot with beautiful feathers on his way. As soon as he saw him, the parrot was amazed at the state of this bald man, and he also burst out laughing. He could not control himself, so he asked him, "Who are you, handsome bald man?" Then he got so angry that his head turned completely red. Then he shouted loudly, "What's wrong with you? Every time someone looks at me, they burst out laughing." And he started mocking me. Haven't you ever seen a bald peacock in your life? He had barely finished his first laugh when he almost held his breath from laughing so hard that he started dancing and singing, saying, "Come on, the beauty, a bald peacock. Come on, the beauty, a bald peacock." And he started calling, "People of the forest, listen and woo. There is a bald bird among us who claims to be a peacock, and he says that he is more beautiful than me." When the parrot finished mocking, the bald peacock left the place crying over his situation. He continued walking until he met a white dove. It was sitting in its nest. As soon as it saw him, it came down from the tree and asked him, "Who are you, poor thing? And what makes you cry?" He answered her, surprised that she did not mock and laugh at him, "I am a peacock, O dove." The dove answered him in surprise, "I have never seen a peacock in your condition in my life. Why don't you have feathers like the rest of the birds?" The bald peacock said, "This is the reason for my crying and sadness. I myself am surprised by my condition, and I will not tell you about what I suffered with the rest of the creatures from mockery and derision." The pigeon replied, "I think you are suffering from a delay in the growth of your feathers, so I advise you to visit a skilled doctor, and I will show you the way to reach her." Then he jumped with joy and thanked the kind pigeon for her sweet words that restored his hope again. And when he was about to leave, he said to the pigeon, "I ask you to accompany me to the doctor." She replied, "Excuse me, I have little chicks that need my care." He thanked her and left. While walking, he came across an old owl wearing glasses. She approached him to look at him carefully. She laughed a little at his appearance and said to him, "Don't be angry with me. I am only joking with you." He said to her, "Don't worry, I am used to this matter." He asked her about the ostrich clinic, and she replied, "I know her. She is my friend. Excuse me, my son. I will send my son with you to accompany you to the clinic, because it is close to here." On the way, the owl's son was overcome with laughter whenever he looked at the bald peacock. The bald peacock replied, "Do not laugh at my condition, for every creature finds fault with the other and forgets his own fault." Please subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell to receive all that is new. Let's continue the rest of the story. When they arrived at the clinic, the owl's son returned, and the bald man entered the clinic and said, "Good morning, doctor." She replied, "Good morning. Sit down. Tell me, what are you complaining of, patient?" He replied, "My illness is related to the lack of growth of feathers." The ostrich was surprised and asked him, "What kind of bird are you?" He said, "I am a peacock." She said to him, "I have never seen a case like yours." She examined him immediately and prepared an ointment for him. Then she said, "Put some of it 3 times a day and be patient with this treatment for a long time. I advise you not to despair. If the medicine works, you will have beautiful feathers, and I will become more famous. If it does not work, you will remain the same, and you will not lose anything." He took the medicine and hurried home happily. He immediately started using the medicine, so he asked one of his brothers to put the medicine on his back because he couldn't reach it, but he refused to give him medicine and said to him, "You are wasting your time. You will remain bald for the rest of your life, so leave it." And he asked the rest of his brothers for help, but their response was refusal and mockery, so he treated himself and fell asleep. At night, his brothers glued some of their fallen feathers and placed them on his body while he was sleeping. He woke up in the morning and ran to his mother, happy. "Look, some feathers have covered my body." While he was jumping with joy, the feathers started falling out. His brothers laughed at him, and he was overwhelmed with sadness. Then he decided to go to the dove to help him use the medicine. When he arrived, she welcomed him and said to him, "Take a place next to me in the tree, and I will take care of you until you are completely cured." A while passed while he was being treated, but to no avail. When despair began to take hold of him, he decided to throw the rest of the medicine into the river. Then he remembered what the doctor had said, so he backed down, kept it, and continued the treatment again. One day, some small white feathers appeared. He was happy and told the dove, but he soon became sad and said, "Why don't bright colors appear in my feathers like the rest of my brothers?" The dove said, "Thank God and be patient. You are in a better state than you were." That night he started thinking of a trick to put colors on his white feathers. So he brought some colors and started coloring his feathers. Then he went to the pigeon happily and said to her, "Look, how beautiful I have become. I have bright colors now. It's wonderful, isn't it?" The pigeon was happy and said, "You see, you were patient and your dream came true." At that moment he regretted lying and decided to tell her the truth. He dived into the river, and when he came out of the water the colors faded. So he returned to the way he was. Then he asked her forgiveness and decided to leave to a place no one knew. He took refuge in a cave and stayed there. Every night he would go out to eat and then return. 2 months passed while he was in that condition, living in the dark. One night he longed to see his friend the dove, so he decided to go to her and said to himself, "What is the use of torturing oneself? Why should I not accept what has been written and destined? I am in a better state than before." Early in the morning, while he was walking, the eyes watching him were filled with amazement and admiration. So they asked and said, "Oh, how strange. When I was bald, they laughed at me. And when God blessed me with some white feathers, they began to envy me for them. So they did not leave me alone." When he reached the dove, she was amazed by his beauty and did not recognize him. She said, "Who are you?" He said to her, "Did you forget who I am so quickly? I am the bald peacock." The dove said to him in astonishment, "Have you looked at yourself since you left me?" He said to her, "I have not looked at myself even once since I took refuge in the cave, and I am satisfied with these white feathers." She said to him, "Wait a little, I will bring the mirror." When he took the mirror, he was amazed by the golden crown on his head. Then he turned back and found long feathers studded with shiny golden circles. He was extremely impressed with himself. The dove said to him, "You are the most beautiful bird ever, and you deserve that for your patience. Now you must return to your family's home to teach your brothers a lesson." On his way back, he met all those who made fun of him when he was bald. They were amazed by his beauty, and he gave them lessons in patience and not making fun of others. They asked him for forgiveness and for friendship, until he arrived at his house. Then the mother met him, but she did not recognize him and thought he was a visitor with a prominent personality. He rushed towards her, hugged her, and said to her, "Didn't you recognize me, mother? I am your bald son." She was happy with him and shed tears and said, "Welcome, my son, to your house." After he rested, his mother told him that he resembled his father in color and was from a rare breed called the Royal Peacock, more beautiful than the ordinary peacock. But oh my, how I overlooked that and did not tell you. At that moment, his brothers entered the house and asked about this beautiful, elegant guest. At that moment, they were embarrassed by their appearance and backed away from meeting him. So their mother said to them, "Come forward and welcome your brother." They were surprised and all said, "Who?" "There is one brother who was bald and left us a long time ago and did not return." After hearing the story, they all cried and asked him to forgive them for everything they had done. And after that they lived happily ever after. The moral of the story is patience in times of adversity to achieve success. Do not mock others. The world is not appearances.